Time to walk over to the other side of the expansive Studio 9 to Jay's Lounge, where a young man is relaxing. And I got to say, this guy is now earning the title as the best-dressed man at the network. It's Jevohn Shepherd, our NBA analyst, our college basketball analyst. How are you? Great to see you.
I'm good. You are looking spliffy.
We're kind of like matching today.
We're brothers.
A little bit.
We're brothers.
Yeah, I like to think so. I love talking to you about Joel Embiid because he's such an enigma. But, hey, 2 games returned after a long absence due to injury. The Sixers win both games. The Sixers have potential here. What is their potential? What is their ceiling, do you feel?
Well, first of all, I'm just so surprised at how in shape he's come back. Joel has come back into this game, right? He's meshed perfectly. And, again, he complements Maxey so well. You look at how Nick Nurse is running a lot of their actions with him coming back into the fold. He's setting screens, but popping up from the baseline into them. They're setting screens for him, reading the defense. And that just shows he trusts his conditioning, trusts his knee and so forth. And then you think about how much better he makes Maxey. Mm-hmm. And you look at them right now, if they continue to play the way they are, the last 2 games with Joel Embiid back, they've been defending the 3-point line well, and that's because the perimeter players can be that much more aggressive, knowing that he's back there to defend them and help them out on the backside. But what does their ceiling look like? I think if I'm, some of those teams at the top of the East right now, if I'm a Milwaukee, if I'm a Cleveland, I'm concerned, right? Because they could potentially creep up to a 6th seed. They can potentially be in that 7th spot. And that's not necessarily a matchup that I would want to have, especially you look at their last 5 games. It's a weak schedule, right? So that gives them some runway to get confidence, build some chemistry. Remember, they have Buddy Hield in the fold, Kyle Lowry, Cameron Payne. So there's some pieces that have to click and get some cohesion right there as well, and they have the time for it. But if I'm those teams at the top, if I'm Cleveland, if I'm Milwaukee, they really haven't played their best basketball the last 10 games, and that's what you want to do right now. You want to be trending in the right direction at the latter part of the season. I think Philly has that potential. And can they make a run as long as they avoid the Boston Celtics in an opening round matchup?
Yeah.
I think they're a danger. They're a threat.
Though what an opening round matchup that would be. I mean, that would be a wild matchup. Okay, as far as the Raptors are concerned, the playoffs are not in the cards this year. They've lost 15 straight games. And it's been rough. I mean, it's a franchise that's been around for, 3 decades now? 3 of their 7 most lopsided losses have actually come in the past month. It's been really bad. Having said that, we knew this was going to be bad. Maybe we didn't think it was going to be this bad, but we knew it was going to be bad. But is it so bad that maybe for some of the young players they want to keep around next year, it's a bit of a negative environment? It's a bit of a bad taste as they head into the offseason?
It's not a negative environment yet because for those young guys individually, there's still a lot to play for. Because there's so much uncertainty on the direction and the pieces of this team going forward, they have something to play for. But what I will say is, there's going to be a lot more pressure on Darko going forward, especially next season, because you've played everything that could have happened wrong this season has happened.
Yeah.
And you've shown that your systems on the offensive side have worked, right? The assists have increased. Offensively, you're putting the ball in the hole. You're still scoring, and you have a skeleton of what the roster can be or is going to be. But on the defensive side, when you're giving up 135, 125, consistently, that's where the problem is, because that's not about talent, that's not about skill, that is coaching the effort of the guys, right? And you've got to get the most out of them. So I think going into next season, when you have a full training camp with your full roster, personnel starts to unfold and, come together the way the front office and yourself imagine it, you've got to see improvements on that end of the floor, and that end has nothing to do with, talent or skill. So there's going to be far more pressure on the staff than there is the players.
That's fair. So pressure on you, Darko. Meanwhile, let's talk about the NCAA tournament. Zach Edey, the Purdue Boilermakers, kicking off the men's Final Four Saturday night against NC State. Both teams have been led by dominant big men, something the coaches are both game planning for.
To me, what really jumps out watching DJ Burns is how competitive he is. Sure, he's got, the game, and he's, he, to me, kind of is like a Zach Randolph type, which is a huge compliment because Zach was a fabulous player for a long time in the NBA. But he looks like he's having a lot of fun out there, too. The ability to score, the ability to pass, and then obviously with Zach, I'm biased, but best player in college basketball, but plays hard, keeps getting better, keeps working on his game, and is very, very unselfish.
If you ask me who keeps you up at night right now, it's Zach Edey. I mean, he is he's playing at a high level. You know, he can really score the ball. We got to get him out of the lane, boy. He lives in that lane, and he's really talented. And where he's become a lot better is he passes the ball a lot.
UConn did not arrive in Phoenix until the early hours of Thursday morning. Their flight was delayed 8 hours because of mechanical issues. UConn's Dan Hurley spoke about the travel delay on Thursday.
What did you do to pass the time last night?
Yeah, I mean, I ruminated a lot. I spiraled, and then I had my head in my hands a lot. I know Andrea storied that pose yesterday. You know, because the toughest part, we got a chance to go home, which was nice. So we sent the guys back to campus, because then you know, we were going to leave at 11:30. But then it was a real mindful exercise. From 11:30 to like 1:45 on the tarmac. You know, it was therapeutic to watch the de-icing out the window. That was probably the best part of it, John.
Not quite sure what happened with the plane. It wasn't me. I didn't send anybody over there to mess with the mechanics. I'm sure he's conjured that up in his head already. But I did get a good night's sleep last night, so that's nice.
Yeah, Nate, how many hours of sleep did you get?
I got a solid 7 to 8 hours in a bed, not on a plane.
Coaches are all comedians right now. Yeah, I think the dream matchup for everybody on both sides of the border is UConn and Purdue in the final. That would be great for TSN. We'd love to see the Canadian kid in the final, and I think that would be a great matchup. But you've seen all these teams. You've been covering the entire tournament for TSN. Do you feel like it's UConn's tournament to lose?
I do. I think they've played the best basketball, you know, from the beginning of the college basketball season to this point. I don't think they've been challenged in the tournament, and that could potentially hurt them later. But they score the basketball. They defend. Klingon is a big-time post presence as well, and he's skilled, right? He does a number of things for them, and it just seems to be that this tournament is a tournament of bigs. But for UConn right now, and obviously Coach Hurley doesn't seem to be too impressed with the mechanical issue there. But that's something you use to motivate you, right? No excuses for your guys. You get into your walkthroughs, you get into your film session, you use that to have them lock in a bit more. But they've got to find a way. Alabama really scores the basketball, right? So they've got to slow them down. If you look on the other side, DJ Burns for NC State.
Man, he is awesome.
We're talking about a guy. We're going into the Final Four. He's playing in the biggest game of his career. And 6'9", 275. He's pretty sturdy, has good feet, and he's drawing interest from NFL GMs.
Yeah, the NFL's interested in him.
So that should tell you that's a story in itself.
Yep.
And then Zach Edey, you know, for Canadians, this is what we want to see. Purdue, we want to see Zach, you know, really accomplish everything for himself as well, because he's taken so much criticism. People have been overly critical of him, but. You know, those are two contrasting styles. Zach, you're going to dump it into him. He's going to try and score the basketball. He's seen double teams. He's seen triple teams. You can look at his arms. You see the war wounds, and he's played through it. They've also, you know, lost last year early in the first round, and they haven't had success there. So they know they're not invincible. I think the coaching staff has done a tremendous job in just coaching that team up. Braden Smith has been a heck of a point guard. But NC State, right, you can't count them out. Won the ACC tournament, and they're playing their best basketball right now. It's kind of one of those situations where you're waiting for them to pinch themselves and say, is this real? When is this going to end?
Yeah.
And talk about having confidence at the perfect time. But this should be a really good Final Four. And you look at the four teams, and you have four teams with experience, and that's the thing that has stuck out to me. So I expect a good one.
Can't wait for your coverage on Saturday. Looking forward to it, buddy. Thank you so much. And, yeah, we've got the games for you right here on TSN. It is going to be awesome. Purdue, a 9.5-point favorite against NC State. UConn, a massive favorite over Alabama. And the Huskies are the clear favorite to win the tournament, according to FanDuel.